Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Challenge All Stars 4 RHAP podcast for episode 6. I am Brian Cohen. With me, as always, is my co host, Ali Lasher. Ali, how are you?
Well, it took us 6 episodes and I think 4 videos for me to show up with wet hair, truly breaking the video medium. Doing okay. How are you?
Are we doing hats? I can do a hat also. Let's bring out the hats. Let's make this a hat podcast. Here we go. Boom. Hat
I'm
podcast.
gonna be if we continue this after this season. Hats mandatory. Headbands. Parvati kind of stole headbands, not for me, but like I've been on this headband tip, so get ready for those.
Love it.
Here's just
Well,
here standing by.
double hats for a double elimination. This is what we're here for. Another big week, big episode. A lot to discuss. And it's been great again.
Yeah, I think the time is dulling my energy. This was a fantastic episode. I was really jazzed the whole time. Very excited to talk about it. And I think
Nice
we
pun
were
there.
talking. Sorry.
Jazz.
Oh, I think we were talking about like, do they need to do double eliminations like to get to the regular 13 episode
Yeah.
season last week? So do you think that's going to continue? It shouldn't, for our listeners, this shouldn't have been a big surprise, although I was still surprised.
No, and then they also, TJ specifically halfway mark, so that's a good milestone marker for how far we have to go. I think it's setting up that there's going to have to be like a massive purge, or there's going to be people left on the sideline. So I think we're set up for like a good way to end it. It's not just going to get down to it with 6 people left.
Speaking of being set up, I always like read too much into the previously on. Why did they set up our boy Leroy? Like played him. Why was he carrying a punching bag in the first place?
I don't know. I hope he was in on it. I hope he was in on the joke of all the outtakes. He got the outtake montage for his previously on. I hope they ran it past him.
But I did I think I made too much out of Kara's last week, like saying like, and I'm going to win the $250,000. So they gave a similar cutaway from Leroy. So but again, another strong opening song. They always kill the opening song. You know, Whitney Houston can't go wrong to kick us off.
Yeah, and we jump started in back with Cam and Leroy. Leroy's celebratory, got his star. Cam's proud. Cam's looking for hers. That's going to be the theme of this episode, is Cam trying to make her mark and get her star. Try to join her partner in crime with the star.
So far, no other members have sought membership, or no other people have sought membership in the Cam defense. I forget what I called it, but Cam and Leroy are so much fun. Like the scene was so much fun. They're so in love. They're so supportive. It's like, I know people are a little bit tired of their exposure in general. People are a little bit tired of Cam's energy this season, but I'm still a Cam defender and I love this. And I like want the audience to come back for loving and supporting Leroy and Cam.
Yeah, and I think the important clarification here, at least for me, is you can be annoyed by Cam and maybe you want to root against her if you want, but she's bringing a lot to the season. Her everything she's doing is front and center. She's whether she's trying to get people in, trying to get herself in, manipulating votes, pushing decisions, like she's being her power player self. So again, you can maybe choose not to like Cam, but again, if there's anyone saying go away, we don't want to see her again, like those people can kick rocks. Like,
you cannot root against Cam and be a member of the Cam Defenders. That is a prime membership requirement. But no, you're right. It's like we talk about this all the time, and this is the same with reality TV. And we learned this from our friends Mari and Matt, the wrestling RHAP up. Like, you know, the heels are as necessary as the other ones, the good ones. What is it?
The faces.
Yeah. So no, it is true, and they're kind of leaning heavy on well, what's your read on this? I kind of feel like they're leaning, especially last week into this week, as like Cara is the one you're quote unquote supposed to be rooting for, but like the way the votes go, you know, this week it kind of seems like Cam, Leroy / Laurel more have the house.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Cam or Cara, either of them, are coming across as faces. I think they're kind of both being not even vilified, but like as kind of complicated people. I think like Leroy is more of like the face right now, as everyone as usually is. It's hard for him not to be the heel or not to be the face. But I don't think they're trying to make us more sympathetic for either of them, and they're both getting confessionals and scenes where you might see them coming across as a little more arrogant or even making wrong decisions. So I think they're just both being complicated beings, which is kind of like the perfect spot to be.
Yeah, I feel there's a slight rooting interest being sort of baked into the Kara edit. But or I felt that way last week. This week, I think there's a lot more like stuff thrown in her face, like particularly when we get to the daily, like even just the partner selection. But
Yeah.
What Kara, I think, is bringing some of the more interesting strategic discussions to her confessionals. So, like, first we get her talking to Ryan, saying like, I'm motivated to keep Leroy out of the elimination and Cam because I don't want my star stolen now. I don't know if we've
Yeah.
really discussed this angle of the game.
No, and Kara's really the only one who even brought it up. Like from the get go, she was like, "I'm playing a defensive game." For I think from episode 1 after she got her star. So this is kind of the next phase of it. And yeah, because I mean, when we did the Red Skull, there was no way to steal it. They've never really done something where you can earn your ticket to a final and then lose it through the season. So this is like a fun facet of the game. And so far, we're really only seeing Kara at least openly talk about things to do to keep her star. I'm sure everyone else is kind of thinking about it, but she's like actively putting people into elimination to save her star.
And Kara's got such a unique mindset because she really, I mean, is she the only? I think maybe Laurel, although we'll talk about, well, let's just say now, someone from the great Challenge Wrap Up Facebook group told us that it's been discussed on other podcasts or elsewhere on the internet that Laurel told everyone not to work with Kara, which was sort of news to me. But I think Kara is really the only person besides, I guess, maybe Adam, who genuinely would go to the end against anybody. Her motivation is not to get strong people out. So, like, she can make the decision of, like, I want to keep people out of elimination based on who's going to take my star, not based on who can beat me in the end, because I think I can beat anyone, one, and two, I'd be honored to lose to a better person than myself.
Yeah, and what's tough for Kara is she's always going to have that, you would think, going into a season amongst the other women, because obviously they would want to make sure they can't go against her. What makes this one even more challenging, and we're seeing it kind of week to week, is all the guys are jumping in and be like, no, we need to get Kara out. Like, that was one of the big the things that Ryan was struggling with. Like, who do I side with, Kara, or I side with Cam? Like, people are struggling that would have worked with Kara without a question, but now they have to see her as the rightful competition. So that's making this path to the end even more tricky for Kara. And if she somehow is able to get to the final without ever losing the star, it would be even doubly impressive.
It also, like, makes the star twist more of something that kind of screws Kara, because otherwise I don't think Kara ends up on the opposite side of Cam and Leroy for any reason, right? Like, a lot of people, including Kara, think that Cam used her vote with Rachel, or her vote to protect Rachel, as the reason to go after her, and she would have gone after her regardless. But let's just say we believe Cam's rationale that it was just Kara getting caught up in protecting her star that put her at odds with Leroy and Cam. Like, otherwise, Kara would have no reason to be at odds with Leroy and Cam, because she'd never be coming for Cam or Leroy, because, again, she'd be happy to run the final with Leroy, which is insane, but is just how Kara is as a player.
Yeah, but to Kara's point, I feel like Cam, like, this was the reason she came up with to go after Kara.
Yeah, of course.
Looking to go after Kara anyway, so.
No, but just like with an asterisk, let's assume we believe that for a moment.
Yep, exactly.
What do you think of Survivor Steve? Is he the TV show in the house you'd want to be watching?
I mean, a little bored in the house. They're in the house bored. He's coming up with some games. I did like that we were vindicated by Ace, because we thought he's been sleeping the entire time, and it turns out he has been sleeping the whole time. So we were right. We called that one. Good job by us.
It's funny that that's like the two shows that Kara sets up, because honestly, the only show worth watching in this house, I think, is like the Nicole and Laurel drama. Like, if I were in the house, I would be Ryan and Veronica, like creeping down at 3 a.m., like laughing in their face directly.
Right. There's also the Brad and the Tal show. I'm sure, that got some attention. So there's that show as well for the late nighters.
The thing about Nicole and Laurel, and I said this last week, but it just felt even it rang truer this week of like we really haven't had some just like straight up juicy toxic drama, I feel like, in a little while to discuss. Like, even in this conversation before the hookup, where like Nicole kind of like takes vague accountability, like she doesn't take accountability for anything, but Laurel's super excited to hear her say the words like accountability. And then Laurel is like, I will always love you, whether it's as a friend, as a relationship, like I've loved you once, I'll always love you. And Nicole's like, I care about you. And Laurel's like, whoa! Like, and it's like, oh girl, like it's so hard to watch. Like Laurel is if you give a mouse a cookie, you know, like she just cares so much about Nicole that she just has blinders on.
Yeah. And I think what makes this almost easier, I feel like, as for me as a viewership to watch and not be disgusted by compared to, you know, people have thrown out the comparison of like the Jordan and Tori stuff, is I feel like that, I know Laurel might disagree because obviously her feelings are more involved, but the Tori and Jordan stuff felt so much more heavy, given the fact that obviously there was an engagement, they were literally planning their future together, and then it was like that falling apart. Whereas the Laurel and Nicole stuff, like I think again for Laurel, it probably felt more serious. For Nicole, like this is just what she does. So the toxicity is almost, I'm able to like step away from it and watch them as just two TV characters, where the Jordan and Tori stuff felt much more personal. That I was like watching their like couples counseling to a degree. So this, I'm able to just watch as like a TV viewer and not feel like gross by it.
No, definitely. I mean, the Jordan and Tori stuff, especially their last couple seasons, right, is very like their devastating breakup and coping with their devastating breakup. Here, like, yes, they're coming off of a breakup, but you know, I think Nicole was engaged to somebody else before this. Like, she's not her most recent ex, and they're rekindling. Like, I do think like it's a fair comparison. Like, if they were still having like the episode 1 stuff where they were just like constantly fighting about it and like having these like deep emotional constant fights, and then one of them was hooking up with someone else in the house, right? Like those things might be more difficult to watch, but like now they're like rekindling, and it's like I don't want to really watch the fallout of this, but it feels like old school, like kind of fun to watch, like the pre-implosion. Because the social media 2 years later is not good. Like that is not fun.
It's like a very different story than what we're seeing on TV. But we also got the very classic, like, oh, they think they're being sly, hooking up, like the bathroom or on the roof, and then the camera's just right there watching them. Like, wait, we're not watching them. We're waiting for them to come around the corner when they're done with their stuff, and they're right there. Boom, headshot.
Shout out to the editors for giving at least again that we saw Nicole initiating it, instigating it. So, you know, no conversation the next day being like, you can't come into my bed. Nicole's caught red-handed there. But yeah, also house having an outdoor sauna. Fierce house. Good for everyone.
It's a great house. I feel like this house is getting widely regarded, but I also didn't realize this was the Challenge World Championship house, apparently. So I guess they're reusing some of them, but it's a great house. Maybe they open up more rooms this time. I don't know.
All right, I think we can head to the daily.
Yeah, we got it's called Take a Seat. As TJ says, the halfway mark, so we're getting down to it. So this is done in 2 phases. No BCR, unfortunately, womp womp, because it's just done in pairs.
But there's so many colors.
Were they in colors? I just noted them as pairs. Were they actually in colors? Oh my god!
Yeah, when they go to get tokens, and then in phase 2, I was going to ask you about the BCR in phase 2.
Oh, I didn't notice. I just thought they were just in pairs. I didn't even notice that they actually were designated colors. Well, phase 1 was a game of musical chairs. They had to run up through a stadium. Must be the same stadium they did one of those dailies in the World Championships on. It was the same spot. 1 by 1, pairs were eliminated until it got down to 4, and those 4 got a massive advantage in the second phase to determine the daily winner.
In defense of the advantage, 3 of the 4 top teams did come from the advantage, but yeah, I mean, getting just the challenge overall. To give you the ACR, I think it is a criticism of the designation because they're still doing the helmet mohawk strip, which is garbage, doesn't work. But I did think they had a beautiful variety or array of colors. So I thought you were going to be pleased, but it was too much of a variety for you to even notice.
I guess too many. Yeah, I think I was too disgusted by the fact that we did a phase 2 and just didn't this very fun phase one, the entire daily. Because this would have been great. This would have been the daily of the season.
I agree. So taking it in parts, I love that they picked their partners. I love that we saw that. I love that there was like some discussion with Leroy and Cam and Ace and Cara. I also love the clip of Brad just walking directly past Tina and Flora without making any eye contact when they said pick your partners. But I love the musical chairs. I thought it was so fun. I would have been fine if they got it down to those 4 or 5 teams and then did something else with just those teams to pick a winner. But they should have all been like the middle group or whatever the numbers worked out to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because, I mean, as Laurel pointed out, I mean, luckily it didn't work out this way. But the fact that she was out first, she was like just chilling on the sidelines resting while Keith was like blowing out his hamstring to like make it all the way through. So it was kind of a bit of a weird like glimpse as to what they do in the final. Of like, oh, you do all this work, you get 5 seconds advantage in like another race. So not the best.
And maybe 30 seconds would have been better if like it was just running to a puzzle and starting, but then it was like completely random chance where your tokens were. It wasn't even like they were given a seat number in a section. Like if there was something more definitive and it was just like a foot race or a puzzle, 30 seconds is great. If it's basically pick a seat out of a hat and hope your tokens are there, it's not such an advantage.
Yeah. Any surprises? So this time, obviously, Cam and Leroy decide to stay together as opposed to in the past. This one they pair up. I guess Cara. I didn't even realize that Cara and Ace were like dynamic duo, and Jay is the brawn of the duo. I think. Look, I mean, Jay's in good shape, but I just don't think he's ever been described as the brawn of a duo before. So good for him.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet to watch Cara pick somebody else over Ace and then have Ace win. Like it was some nice little revenge there. Leroy and Cam last split up, I think, when Rourke was on and you guys talked about it. I felt like really, I know hindsight's 2020 and they both end up in the bottom together. And if they had won, maybe it would have been like, oh, pick each other. But when they decided to work together without knowing the outcome, I hated this decision for them.
Why this one?
Just because, like, I just feel like it's so critical that one of them be in the middle if one of them's in the bottom. Like, it's so much harder to look at someone's face and vote in your partner, especially in like a very, very small group. So I just feel like giving up that kind of ally is like a huge mistake when all my brain just broke. Sorry. It's been a tough week. But that was it. And then I also felt like, what was it? There's just like not enough to be gained from them being in the same group. Like, I didn't really feel like, especially if they still think it's just going to be a women's day, like Leroy risking being the bottom isn't that big of a risk. I don't know. I just didn't feel like the benefit of them being together and both being safe outweighed like the risk of that was, oh my God, delete this. I hate that we're on video. Let me start again. Sorry, everyone. The risk is not worth it. The reward is not worth the risk. That's what I mean. And to give up having the advocate is not worth that. Plus, they could both be safe. That's the other thing. It's not just one winner. I would consider everyone in the middle group above. Wow, brain fart, don't comment, don't care, don't at me. But that's what I meant. The 3 middle teams who win and the winner, those are 4 winners. Those are enough spots where technically both of them could win. And if not, at least one of them has good odds of being an advocate. I'm going to leave now.
To me, I don't have a strong opinion either way. I just think you have to stick with your game plan. I think unless something blatantly obvious has happened or they discussed that would point to them deciding to stay together rather than splitting apart, to me, it shows more like wishy-washy on their behalf. They don't really know what they're doing and don't have a clear path. It's like in blackjack. Like, you have to be the type of person that's going to hit a 16 against a 10 or stay. Like, you have to like do it every single time. If you go back and forth, you're going to get yourself in a pickle and you're going to lose. So they just like every time we're sticking together or every time we're splitting apart and just like go with your conviction. I don't like the going back and forth without any like, oh, well, clearly we did this wrong last time, so this time we're going to stick together. It's more like, oh, we split apart last time. Let's just work together this time.
So I don't agree with that only when you can decide after you see the challenge. So like that was another reason before my brain short circuited, I should be replaced by AI, is like here a lot of it was luck, right? Musical chairs, despite what Steve and Veronica say that like purchasing stadium tickets in a completely unrelated stadium would give you some advantage here. It's more or less luck or a little bit quickness if you can get to the musical chair seating, then if you can find your tokens, and then at the end it becomes a puzzle. If there was like something that was hugely within their skill set and so therefore they want to pair up, fine. If there's something hugely outside of their skill set so they want to split up, like I think that makes
Mhm.
sense. But yeah, I see what you're saying if it's just based on strategy and not based on like the likelihood that they win the challenge.
And then we got Derek once again doing very well in the challenge. Probably would have won this daily, or at least gotten the advantage of it, but Jasmine held him back for the fifth and final seat. I feel like they're setting something big up for Derek. I don't know. I'm like, I know that again. I know we've been doing this for a freaking decade now, and the challenge doesn't do winners edits. But it feels like they're setting up Derek to do very well because once again we had the confessional. I think it was Steve being like, "Here we go. There's look at Derek dominating once again." And if we get the confessional even before the challenge, like, "Oh, I won the last two. I'm going to try to make it a three-peat." Like, I don't know. Derek is like very involved, and they're setting himself up for something down the road, obviously. But I think it's going to be something good.
Yeah, I agree. You flagged that last week, so I was definitely more locked into it this week. I think my problem with it, and he's certainly like performing well in the challenge, and he's like we see him the first person at every seat section. So it's not just like they're telling us and not showing us, but it's
Yeah.
not like materializing into any real power, any real game moves. He doesn't have a star. Um, he hasn't sent himself in yet to get a star. Here, Jasmine completely takes him out. We're not seeing people like Laurel or Cara pick him as a partner, right? Like there aren't
Right.
real demonstrations of him as a power player besides we get a confessional once a week like talking about what a great athlete he's been in the eliminations that he then has, or sorry, in the dailies which he is winning.
Yeah.
But I agree, like I think they're telling his story to us for a reason, whether he makes the final, whether he wins the final, or whether they're trying to set him up as like sort of the classic Derek position of like the person who just misses the final when
Right.
everybody in the season thinks he should make it and he like gets purged at the end. For all of those scenarios, some more stuff has to happen for me to really get invested in any of those storylines than like Steve saying he's great. But
Hmm.
he did show out in this challenge as a third challenge in a row. Like he's absolutely showed up and showed out. So I'm glad he didn't go home in that
Yeah.
first episode.
And then we have another. I guess I have to take back my words about Laurel being a coach because Laurel obviously was the first one out with Brad, and then each round she is just cheering everyone on to the point that I'm like, who is that yelling? And then I realized, oh, it's just Laurel. I don't think she was necessarily even rooting anyone specific on. I think it was just a general like, you got this, guys, go go go, you got to run. So she's a coach, Coach Laurel coming at you.
I know, and she'd bother the heck out of me because she's screaming out the seat ranges too. And it's like, well, you're not
Right.
helping anyone. You're just helping the person who got there first, And like there were a couple rounds where it was interesting. Like it wasn't necessarily the last person who got there. I think Adam goes out because he's in like the wrong seat on the other side. He was just sitting in the wrong seat. So
Yeah.
Laurel, I guess, evening the playing field for everyone. Two things I just want to say about the first round with Brad. Well, the first has nothing to do with Brad. It's I am accidentally doing Wayne's World cosplay, and I just realized that right now. I feel like I'm giving very that. The second thing is, did TJ have to come so hard for Brad when he said Brad's out? Shocker. I was
So
like,
mean.
TJ and Jeff this season just being like, you
I
guys
know.
suck during the episode.
And then once again, like I know they're best friends, but it's almost like a certain point, like guys, get a room. Like TJ, like oh, and I got my main man Leroy paired with Cam. Like what the kid? Come on, Mark. We know you're best friends. You don't have to say that every time. It's enough.
Deep favoritism. It's not even just that.
Deep.
Like he said it to he said something similar to Brandon, right? When he left, it's just like,
Yeah.
and I guess when he leaves, it's not as bad, but like TJ, hide your
Right.
cards a little bit.
Seriously, if there's a vote at the end, we know where TJ's is going.
The energy, I just want to commend the challengers for having of taking this like yassified version of musical chairs and like making it cutthroat. I lived for. I loved the performance and the
Hmm.
challenge. I did not live for like Veronica and a couple other people being like, "Oh my god, like no one cares what they're doing to other people," or like, "I wouldn't play dirty." Like, play dirty. It's for $250,000 musical chairs. Get
Right.
rough a little bit. It's the challenge.
Hmm. Agreed. No notes.
And then we hear the first mention of Kifla's injury, and I think Kifla takes
Hmm.
the voice of the audience there when he's like, "No injury, no injury, no injury." I was like,
Right.
"No
Yeah.
injury, no injury."
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Yeah, big whammy. Yeah, poor guy. I mean, I felt for him. Like, I mean, very funny him talking about his wife being like, just please just don't get injured. He got injured. You hate to see it, but it's tough. It's not a young man's game. Or it is a young man's game, I should say.
And then we get to phase two, and you already roasted the 30-second head start. What shocked me, we normally roast the head starts and the rewards as not being that good. But
Yeah.
that they aired Laurel talking shit about the reward was so shocking to me.
Yeah, even to go even more, like, again, the point that I brought up at the beginning, like, oh, it's better off I sucked in the beginning because I actually get a better advantage here. That's wow. You know, that's All Stars. All Stars doesn't, like, I feel like they're not afraid to, like, make fun of themselves. Like, they make fun of the players. I think they make fun of the game. Like, they're making fun of the producers here. Everyone gets a joke.
Well, since we're cool making fun of the editors, the producers here, I have a grievance about the shadow, the silhouettes that they used in the middle uh
Hmm.
teams brackets. Did you notice that?
I noticed the silhouettes, and then they popped up with the people. What was the issue?
So perhaps I know Ryan Kehoe's outline too well, but they didn't just use like stock silhouettes, like they used the actual blacked out images of
Like
their
mid
cast
challenge,
photos.
you mean? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so like
Interesting.
when the second team, when Adam and Flora's image like populated, I was like, hold on, and I paused and I looked at just the silhouettes of the third place finish, and I was like, that's Avery and Ryan 100%, like 100%.
Wow.
And then it was, and I was like, that's like not amazing. Like that's not amazing.
I did not pick that up. That would be a fun daily though. Like you have the silhouettes of everyone. You have to match the people up to who their silhouettes are, and Ali would win.
If you can't identify Ryan Kehoe by his silhouette, like, are you watching the challenge? I don't know.
I guess that. I
It
think
was a
that's
bummer.
very funny. Yeah.
But the rest of the teams, Ace and Nicole, as we already said, come in first, and then Car and Jay,
Yep.
Adam and Flora, Ryan and Avery make up the middle team.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, like how many people they're putting in the bottom group of such a select company in the middle. We just think when it gets even in smaller numbers, what they do, but they really are trying to keep like the voting block. I don't think it's ever been more than six. I think they try to keep six as like the max that they have going as the vote. So I think that's going to be it's a very fun facet of this season.
Yeah, I think it's way more interesting to have the smaller group in the format. It certainly seems what they've wanted to happen. It's also kind of made it harder to figure out like who's a big voting block in the house. Like I think that's kind of revealing itself more and more this
Yeah.
episode. Even some people like Jay and Ryan are sort of making more decisions this episode than they've had to make in the past. But I think any smaller of like the losing group is sort of like a bummer, like to have fewer than 5 people to pick from, 2 of 5, it's like kind of shitty odds if it's any smaller than that. I know it has been in the past, but I think this was like a
Mm-hmm.
good way to, what was it, 18 people to like configure 18 people. And shout
Yep.
out to doing pairs and not on like an odd numbered day.
Yeah. Well, what I can guarantee you is next week, because this is their favorite thing in the world, they will guarantee to be 4 teams of 4 next week, because that's what the challenge loves to do. And they don't do that, then that leads me to believe that the producers on this version are different than the producers on 39, because we added 4 teams of 4 for like a month, 2 months straight on 39. So buckle up.
I'm fine with 4 teams of 4. My problem is the Asaf Raven, what's her name, Zara team. Like I don't like pairs
Mm-hmm.
when then there's 1 team of 3. 4 teams of 4, beautiful.
They are at a good number now, because obviously there are even. So no, I can see them doing single elimination next week, because 15 is also a good number. I can see why they wanted to get from 18 to 16 because 17 is a rough number. So they'll probably want to avoid the prime numbers. So I bet when they're getting down to 13, they're going to want to make the jump to 12. Same thing with 11. But they can keep 15. So I think next week's single elimination.
What do you do with 15? 5 teams of 3?
Yeah.
And have 3 in the bottom, 1 team's the middle.
Or 3 teams, or 5 teams of 3. Yeah.
All right. All right, let's talk about Jay and Kara, because I think this is actually really interesting. Like, didn't have on my 2024 bingo card that I'd be like, Jay is kind of giving the most interest in the house right now of where he's at. Because I think prior to this episode, I would have said Nicole is his number 1. He's really established with Kara also. It is a surprise to me that Jay looks Kara in the face and stumps for Jasmine in this spot. Like, have we seen that on the show?
No, and I was trying to think of the connection, because obviously they note that Jasmine's very well connected, and I thought, like, is Jay like super close somehow with Ryan, or did he get somehow close with John A back in the, like, I was trying to like even think back of like the Rolodex of like who could the bridge have been that led Jay to Jasmine, but I don't see anyone that specifically led it, unless Jay is close to Jasmine just because he knows that Jasmine's close to a lot of people, so he doesn't want to ruffle feathers by going after Jasmine. But that's not how he presents it.
To look at your number 1B, you know, like maybe Nicole's 1A, Kara's 1B for Jay, to look at your number 1B and say that her biggest enemy is someone whose name you can't say. Like, it works for Jay, because I think, like, unlike the Cam, Kara, Leroy, like, unraveling, the Brandon, Kara unraveling, looking at Kara straight in the face and explaining something to her, I think she can, like, actually respect. Obviously, she later, like, gives him an ultimatum, but I do think, like, Jay did the right thing by just being upfront with Kara about where he stood. It was a risk.
Yeah, and I think it also works just because of the structure of like this season and the format. Like, and because Kara really doesn't have anyone else. Like, Kara's clinging to the scraps of like who she can work with, and Jay seems to be that one person. So what is she going to burn the bridge with Jay over this? And Jay doesn't have to worry about it going in this week. He doesn't worry about his number 1 going in this week. Nicole's safe. Obviously, he goes in, but like it's safe. So he's able to like be a little bit more honest with what he wants to do, because he is in a good position for this particular vote.
What do you think of Kara's move where her sights are sort of set on Jasmine here? Because, like, in a normal, not normal, but a contestant with priorities of like keeping weaker people at the final and getting out your biggest threats. So a non-Kara would love Jasmine having a star and would not want that star taken away and would be aligned with the house going to the end with her.
Yeah.
However, I understand Kara sensing like, oh, my Stargate plan is blowing up in my face. Veronica and Jasmine, being the other 2 female star holders, will always keep those stars. And it will just be strong people trading my star back and forth while they walk to the end. Like, what is the correct priority here? Like, should Kara be targeting Jasmine so aggressively, or should Kara be okay aligning with the rest of the house and focused on some other bigger targets?
No, I think Kara was right. The play is to try to keep her star at all costs, especially just how the house is shaking up. Like, if Kara were to have lost her star this week, there's no chance she ever gets voted into elimination again. The only chance she would get in is if she wins a daily and then goes in herself. So I think she has to go after has to play defense in protecting your star. And the way it played out, I'm almost surprised this wasn't her backup plan. She didn't necessarily need to have Jasmine and Veronica go in. She should have been pitching to Nicole, help me rally the votes to get Jasmine in against literally anyone. And then you can go in and take out Jasmine and take the star. And that way we both are safe, we both are free. I know Nicole doesn't have a vote, but if she pitches that to Nicole pitches that to Jay, that's how she can get the votes to specifically be like, have it be even Laurel and Nicole, or Laurel and Jasmine, who even cares, and just have Nicole swap with Laurel or whatever. Like, that could have been the move and not get so complicated with having Veronica in the mix too.
So yeah, I totally agree. First of all, that Kara's plan to get the star holders in to get Jasmine, or if she was even just so focused on Veronica, either way, it is the right move and being defensive. I also think she desperately needs another strong final threat up there with her holding a star, either to gain leverage working with that person like she had with Rachel, or to sort of distract attention off of her. I don't know if Nicole is enough of a threat to be that person. I think like a Laurel is probably a better person in that position. But anyway, on the flip side, I agree. I was wondering the whole time why the possibility of Nicole coming in to take the star wasn't being discussed at all, particularly as they set up a Jasmine Veronica elimination. Like before we even saw the elimination, I was like, there's a 98% chance that Nicole's going to go in here. It's probably her best option.
Yep.
But it's that wrinkle of, everybody outside of the show seems to know that Laurel and Cara were not working together, that Laurel told everybody not to work with Cara. This is, hearsay from the audience, but seems to be bearing fruit on TV. And Nicole comes down with the wrath of 1,000 suns against Cara, and her move seems to be made against Cara rather than for herself, which is so confusing to me,
Right.
which I guess we'll talk about in the elimination. So I don't think, apparently, despite the scenes we've seen with Laurel and Cara talking like friends and being supportive, that Cara would have had any leverage talking to Nicole.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, Nicole's reaction of once it gets down to the elimination, because this was like set up on a silver platter. Like this would have been something like the BFFs would have orchestrated for each other. Like if Rachel, Veronica, and Tina could have done this, be like, oh my God, this is so perfect. We'll toss one of us will win. They'll toss the other one in, so that way they can go against Jasmine for the win. Like, and Nicole takes it as like such a slight, like, oh, you were working with Cara. It's very bizarre. And I think again, it only leads to the possibility, like you said, of like everyone, Laurel, getting the house to be like, don't work with Cara, don't work with Cara, which almost makes the fact that she was able to flip this vote seemingly live so much more incredible, that Laurel has poisoned the house to not work with Cara, and yet live at the nomination, Cara is able to flip the vote to get it to be what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, let's get right to that, because like Cam's plan is, I want to go in against Tina. And I think, you mentioned Cara was sort of doing too much with the plan. It should have been Jasmine against anybody potentially. I really think Cam was doing way too much with this plan, particularly with the field of women available to go up against. I think Cara could have done just what Janelle did. Sorry, not Cara. Cam could have done what like Janelle did and just been like, I just want to go in. I don't care who it's against.
Yep.
You guys decide. It's Jasmine, Tina, and Veronica who are like all good options. And as she says, there won't be votes for Laurel. But Cam doesn't need to prescriptively tell people like, I'd be fine going against Laurel, but you don't have the votes. Like, you don't want to go against Laurel.
Right.
That's fine. You'd be stupid to want to go against Laurel. You're too smart for that.
Yeah, especially because we just saw this. I mean, especially for them, it was a couple of weeks ago of how much it backfired on. Oh my God, who just did that? You just said it. I forgot her name. This is really bad. Janelle. About she was like, I want to go in specifically against one person, and it backfired so badly. What could have been funny if Cara wanted to like try to fake men fences with Cam, if she could have agreed, okay, Cam, we'll let you go in against Jasmine, knowing that Nicole was just going to swap with Cam. Now, I don't know if like Nicole would then take almost fire at the shot at Leroy and Cam of like replacing Cam in that elimination, but that would have been very funny if Cara messed around with Cam almost a little bit of like, oh, placating her, I'll let her go in knowing she's going to get that swap with.
Well, that's what's so tough. It is hard to sort of understand who's working together in the house when we only see small segments of the middle group voting.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at Jay's voting as like a conduit for Nicole's stance, given that they're really locked together, understanding that Jay's got a spoke to Cara that Nicole doesn't have. Neither of Jay's votes are for Cam or Leroy, which,
Yep.
It's weird because voting for Cam in this spot would have been working with Cam, but he also saves Leroy because he could have pushed the Leroy vote from Steve to Leroy. So I don't know where anybody is on that side of the house.
Yeah. What I was most surprised by in the vote was actually Avery's vote, just because I know her and Derek are actually, I think maybe they became close from here, but I think they were close even before this. And obviously Derek and Jasmine are super close. So I was very surprised that Avery wasn't very much gung-ho, like, I'm not voting Jasmine, I'm making sure Jasmine is safe. And I was surprised that maybe I don't know, like with Adam being in the mix. I mean, Adam then ended up flipping his vote and kind of burning his vote, and maybe they started to get close around this time, and they started talking a little bit more game amongst other things, and that could have been how she was swayed. But that was the vote to me that I was most surprised about, was able to be flipped. That Avery wasn't very much a gung ho. I'm keeping Jasmine safe.
So I don't think Avery ended up voting for Jasmine.
But I think
Avery voted for the vote count was 11 votes when it put the votes on the screen. Like she voted for Veronica in her hands up, but I don't think she actually cast a vote for Jasmine.
So who was her other vote for? Did she burn it?
They did not count. They did not count a vote. Like they didn't show it, and
Okay.
she just like was so. Let's talk about the women first, then, because it was really interesting. I felt really bad for Avery here. Now, in the it's again, it's like tracking the relationships we don't know of and the relationship we do know of. I thought the same thing with Adam. Like we have no idea where they're at in their relationship journey, but it's so weird knowing the end and going back to the middle. It's like a Bravo show.
Yeah.
But she, like, Adam pitches his men's vote and Avery doesn't go along with it. And then Adam pitches his women's vote and like calls everyone insane. And Avery's not like jumping in to go along with it. So I don't think she's like following Adam at that point. I do think Avery gets more like beaten down and is like so shut down by the end of this vote dealing with Cara that it's not an excuse. Like she's got to kind of show up for her allies and like this is the game. But I think she just like couldn't take the energy from Cara. And I don't know what she could have done because at that point, like 3 votes for Jasmine is enough. I guess she could have voted for Tina or Cam and tied the vote. She could have voted for Tina, that paid off that storyline between Avery and Tina and forced a tie. But then I don't know what would happen, and maybe she felt like she'd go in. Like I don't know what her options really were there.
Yeah. It was a very messy vote, and it was a little frustrating that it just seemed like it ended. Like it was like, all right, it's not Cam. It's gonna be, Cara got her way. We didn't. I don't feel like there was a clear resolution. It was just abruptly ended with the vote, which is frustrating because it was very interesting to watch it all play out. And I think I agree. I think I know Avery came into the season being like, oh, I'm like been out of touch for a while. I don't know how the game works, yada yada yada. And I didn't buy that the first few rounds. This was like the most like, oh, she kind of is like out of the reality competition TV world, and like this was like the first pressure cooker vote. And I don't think she did what in her head she wanted to do going into this.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like it's putting her again in a position to draw rocks. Like, is she going to draw rocks for Jasmine? But like, she's seen the show. Maybe she's going to go in. Cara promises her, "I'll give you an extra star." Like, I don't know how binding that is or how motivating that was to Avery, but she's definitely not working with Veronica. Or she had the shakedown from Tina. I don't know where she stands with Veronica. Again, I don't know who she wanted to vote for. The votes end up being just a level set for the audience. If anyone's just listening. 3 for Jasmine from Cara, Jay, and Adam. 3 from Veronica from Jay, Adam, and Avery. 2 for Tina and Cam, both Flora and Ryan voting as Cam wanted. 1 burn vote from Adam. Again, maybe they, Avery was vote just like whatever, surrendered to Cara's vote. I don't know. Maybe it's just that it didn't matter. Whatever. Is Cara spending too much social capital here? Like, I know we already agreed that this is like the right move to be defensive, but I did think that like this complete shakedown from these 6 people, like you see Flora immediately leave and be like, Cara's a huge baby with a poopy diaper. She completely beats down Avery. I think, like, to your earlier point, like, okay, you want Jasmine in or you want Veronica in, but to like browbeat everyone to get both of these people in as you want. It felt like a big expense from Cara. Maybe she thinks she's got nothing to lose, but it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I think ideally she could have had a similar outcome the way it played out, of just having Nicole go in and take out one of the stars people and not exert as much social capital. But I do understand it from her perspective, because especially with TJ laying out like the halfway mark, she knows it's just all about like survive and advance each round. Like, as whenever there's a Women's Day, she needs to just go balls to the wall 100% to keep her star, knowing there's probably going to be, if she makes it all the way through the end, 2 of them, maybe 3, that she can just win the daily outright, and then she keeps her star that way. And then for the couple that she's in, like that weird middle group, like just exert everything she possibly can to keep her star safe. So I'm good with that. I'd rather her expend as much social capital as she can to try to save each round than think she could play it safe and then have the star gone and then she doesn't get another crack at it again. So I can't fault her for doing what she's doing.
It's true because she's also in a bind, right? The person who wants to go in is Cam is gonna take a star from her. The person who's in first place, if she goes in, is gonna take a star from her. And both of them are so motivated, they probably would have picked the star holder to be safe so that they could steal. Like it seems like Nicole and Cam are motivated to particularly take Kara's star and not just get a star.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. They don't want Cara in the final, and personally, they're not working with her right now.
Do you
So
think
it is a
Cara's
tough spot for
promised?
Cara.
Do you think Cara's promised though to Avery, like, oh, I'll give you my extra star, like based off the structure of the house? Is do you think is Cara aiming to be in a position to have an extra star? Like if she's in the bottom group, isn't more of the house's focus to take her star away than to eliminate her? So I don't think they would vote her into elimination. I think they would let other people win and steal Cara's star. So I don't know when Cara is even going to have a spot to have an extra star to pass around.
Well, it depends. If it tracks the way these votes went, right? Like all 4 star holders went into the elimination. Like it is becoming a bit of a Stargate, if only because the star holders in the middle want to push it that way. So the star holders are
Mm-hmm.
in the elimination. I think so much depends on who's in that middle group, right? Like, yes, what you're saying makes sense. But could I also see some people say, I'm just so desperate, particularly men in the middle group. Like, I won't have to go against her in elimination, and I don't want to go against her in a final. So I'm going to take a shot. Like Cara says here, I'll vote Leroy and Kifla because in the like 1% chance that it hits, then Leroy's gone. Could I see them making
Right.
the same move for Cara? Yeah, maybe.
It's possible. Yeah. We'll see if Chekhov's Avery star is back to play.
I thought you were going to say, do I think that she'll honor that? Or like Avery
Oh,
was
well,
actually
do you think
motivated
she'll
for
honor
that or
that?
expected anything. I don't like sure because I think like Cara barely had anyone to give her star to. She gave her star to her like biggest enemy. I think Avery's like a good person to give it to because you'd probably rather her in a final than some of the other people you could give it to. That's not really Cara's style, but now she's got a reason to do that. But I don't think like Avery was really motivated by that promise. I mean, maybe we'll see some tweets soon of like, that was the only
Right.
reason I made a deal with her, but
Yeah.
who knows?
We'll see. Or at least
On
the
the men's
professional next week,
side,
maybe.
one shout out to Ryan Keough. It was so bold to look at Cara in the face after she was like, "I want Veronica and um, Jasmine to go in," and Ryan was like, and the way Cara put it was like, they're directly attacking me. And she was completely right. It's like Cam wants to go in because Cam wants to beat Tina and steal my star. It's a direct attack on me. She could have said anybody else, like, I don't get whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan was like, I am voting for Cam and Tina. Like, that's not playing the
Yeah.
middle.
And it was great to have professionals being like, Cara, there's other players in this game that have their own game to play. We're not just playing Cara's game. And sure enough, it ended up going exactly how Cara wanted. But it was still refreshing and fun to hear people like openly push back on that. So it's nice to hear.
And it's a good time, I think, if you're playing the middle to not go along with Cara because, like you said before, Cara's really got nobody else. So it's like, how many people can she really add to her hit list versus like Cam has nothing but time, like Cam, if a vote against her
Yep.
is a vote for her. So at this point, like working with Cam is closer to riding the middle than working against Cam.
Totally.
All right. Anything with the men's vote? I mean, it comes down to like near human, or it comes down to completely unanimous for Kifla, which hurts my heart. And then
Yeah.
Steve catching one more vote than Leroy goes in here, which I thought was really interesting. Like it ends up being Cara and Adam who are the only votes for Leroy, which made me think like maybe, again, I thought Cara had most of the house when she got Leroy in the first time, but like, who knows?
Yeah, it was good that they did the guys vote first because it set up a surprise with the second one because the fact that Leroy was safe, I was like, oh, okay, Cam's going to get what she wants. She's going to go in. So the fact that this vote went Cam Leroy's way and the other one did not is very fun for the show because it shows there's not one clear, like people, the power players, Cam and Cara, could make their pitches, but people are independently thinking which one would they rather do. And that makes for a fun dynamic and a much better season than just everyone following the herds with whatever one person wants to decide.
Yeah, and Jay really is one of the flippers here where he doesn't vote for Leroy, but then he votes with Cara for Jasmine or Veronica. And I wonder how much of that is Cara really throwing her weight around at the right time, being like, Jay, I am going to call this one in. Like, it is me or Jasmine right now.
Yeah. And like, if you're trying to, like, as most save face between Leroy and Cam, like, yes, Cam wants to go in, but the more direct shot at Leroy and Cam is throwing Leroy in rather than not throwing Cam in. So if you want to try to play the middle, you can be like, well, I kept Leroy safe. Like, I know I didn't go with you, Cam, but you'll get another shot at least. But at least I kept Leroy safe.
And we did get the like interesting conversation in the beginning of the episode where Cara's like, I'm not going to continue this. Like, if they take another shot at me, fine. But like, I'm not interested. Like, I want to be retaliating. I don't want to be initiating. And I wonder how much Leroy getting thrown in here was like really on her agenda versus like Adam sets it up and says like star holders, Leroy and Keefla. And she's like, okay, like if you guys are voting Leroy, like I'll continue to vote for him. But maybe she didn't care like so much about that vote.
Right.
Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Jay made the right decision going with Cara? I mean, we don't really hear any confrontation between Jasmine and Jay about it. And then Jasmine ends up going home. But, you know, do you think Jay flipped the right way to vote with Cara?
I don't think he got enough out of doing what he did. Because, again, I think I come back to, and maybe they did talk about it, but the fact that there was not more of a conversation between Jay and Nicole of one of them to the other being like, how do we best set this up for you, Nicole, to go in and get your star? And like, then you could pretend to like work with Cara or pretend to work with Cam and set it up for Nicole to get her star. Like that should have been more of the outcome for Jay. So I think it's fine what he did, but I think there was such more of a home run hit he could have delivered here, whether with the result also just like the perception of him if he did pull something like that off, that I feel like that could have been the bigger move that he could have done.
But like what? Only because like the way the other people who were eligible, like Veronica, Jasmine, Tina, Cam, Laurel, those were the 5, right?
Like I think he could have set it up where he placated both Cara and Cam by placating Cara to put Jasmine in, placating Cam to put Cam in, and then Nicole replaces Cam. And like for Jay, he comes out scot-free to everyone. And Nicole, his number one, gets a star. And Cara keeps her star. He tried to put Cam in. Like he could have done all of these things and come out pretty smelling like roses and have confessionals being like, oh, I'm the mastermind. Look at me. I'm doing all this stuff. And have people like being friends with me. I think that could have been a very fun move.
I think that's doing too much for nothing. Like, I think Cam smells that out immediately. Like, I almost think it's weird that Cam even was like pitching this move with Tina, unless she was going to have Nicole aligned. Like, this is going to be my time. You're not going to come in and take it. Maybe that's a conversation we didn't see. Like, where Cam is like, I want to go in. It's me and Tina. And if like that gets honored, Nicole's not going to step in. Maybe that was like a pre-agreed thing. So like, does Jay like really have the social capital? Like he has a lot of social capital in the house, but does he have like the finesse, the social capabilities, like the West factor or the old West factor to like go around, lie to Cam, have Cara and Nicole, when Cara, first of all, would be so motivated to be like, Cam, you think you like really did something and expose the whole thing. For just like a theatrical version of Cam getting pulled out by Nicole. And then Cam's furious at Nicole, who's his number one ally. And then maybe she starts taking hits at Jay anyway. Like, I just don't know what the payoff is when like, I don't really think Cam's going to be that mad at Jay for not voting with her because like, I don't even know how close they're working together anyway. Like, does Cam expect Jay's loyalty?
The payoff would have been fun for us. That would have been the payoff. I guess.
I wouldn't have
Pretty
wanted to
selfish,
see
like,
more Jay like going around town and like pretending he's making a big move.
I'm enjoying Jay this season. Is that like a hot take? I think he's been fun.
No,
He's doing
he's
well.
fine because
He's in the mix.
I think he's actually playing it correctly. Like I really respected these
Mhm.
conversations he had with Cara, and I think he did make the right move. Like I think if anything, this kind of exposed Jasmine's game for how many people in the middle group felt extreme loyalty to Jasmine. And it's like, hold on a second. Cara, he lays it out perfectly. Like he's, saying it exactly how it is. Cara's got no one, and we have a pre-existing relationship where I can trust her. Jasmine
Mhm.
and I are close, but every other person is Jasmine's number one. And I know I'm behind Derek and I'm behind Ryan or I'm behind whoever. I guess, sorry, not. Oh, yeah, because Ryan doesn't vote for her. So, like, I'm behind like this long list of people and everybody feels the same way as me. I need to go back to basics with Cara and Nicole. And also, like, where's Jasmine's power coming from? I know she's been in the middle group and she did like get Cara voted in, and that's excellent. But in general, if you're going to bet on Cara being in power more frequently or Jasmine being in power more frequently, you're probably going to think Cara. So I think he did the right move. And I think doing more to try to fool like some of the more strategic women in the house would have blown up in his face, which would have been fun,
Yeah.
certainly. But from like, I'm
That's what I
giving Jay
mean.
his flowers. I think he did the right thing.
That would have been fun. It would have been fun.
Mm,
TJ,
yep.
TJ coming in hot again at the elimination. Again, taking a page. This is the era of the host just making fun and ripping on the players is here. Because here, TJ he makes fun of Ace's outfit. Comes in dressed like a king. TJ's like, "What the hell are you wearing, dude?"
It's not the weirdest outfit we've seen showing up to an
Certainly not.
arena for sure. Yeah, I want to just talk quickly about the reaction. Like, I do want to say, like, it's probably the first time Cam has had a reaction, like, has said, like, it's a bad move,
Mm.
you're stupid. But it's like she's got a right rationale. It's not just for going against her. Like, Kara's gonna beat you in the end. Stop working with her. That's like a fair response from Cam. Better, more fair than we've seen the last few episodes.
Yeah, probably. It was also fun to see someone actually blindsided. Like, I think you don't really see people actually blindsided by a vote. So Cam, I think, was fully expecting to be going in, fully expecting going against Tina, and then nope, not this time.
Yeah, I do. I love the season, but I do, and I wouldn't change anything. But if I could extend it by 10 minutes, I'd like to know like more about who Cam thought were going to be votes for her. Maybe she just thought like I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking to go in, so that should be
Yeah,
honored. But I don't quite know like the back half of that group who she thinks she's close with. But
yeah.
alas,
I would have liked to see more Jasmine for a while. I feel like considering how many people Jasmine thought she was close to, would have liked to seen her confront more of that six. They'd be like, "What the hell, guys?" Basically, and we didn't get any of that.
totally. But Nicole ends up coming down for Rope Rumble, which is I think a surprise to no one.
No, the second TJ, not even TJ announcing what the elimination was. The second we saw the elimination of the giant rope in the middle, it was like, okay, there's just a question of who's Nicole replacing, and I thought it would be the easiest decision in the world to go against Jasmine. I didn't think there'd be any drama to it. I thought it would be the quickest elimination in years. But yes, there was some debate. There was some debate because Nicole Nicole actually does the opposite at first, replaces Jasmine, and then does the Uno reverse card, which I think we could talk about too.
Yeah, it's like pulling hose. I love when she said that. I don't know what happened here. Like I don't know why Nicole replaces Jasmine to go against Veronica. I agree. I thought it was gonna be an early easy decision. I assume you agree to go against Jasmine.
Yeah.
I don't know what about what Veronica said changed her mind. I don't know what Cara has to do with it. I don't understand. I don't know why she was allowed to switch back. Like, I don't understand anything.
No, and I should have wrote it down. Who someone had the best confessional of the season being, I can't understand anything Nicole said, so I certainly can't understand what she's thinking, which sums up, I think, perfectly what everyone feels about Nicole, because they made no sense whatsoever. I don't understand it. I don't know what Veronica working with Cara would matter, nor why she would think she's working with Cara. They couldn't be not working together anymore. nor would Jasmine be involved. I don't understand it. It didn't make any sense, and it just didn't make sense.
If I could address Nicole directly, if you're watching, I'm sure you are. If you could just come,
Yeah, clip this
come
for
closer.
Nicole. Let's clip this.
Just come closer. Your closest ally is working with Cara. Like Jay is working with Cara. What is Veronica's crime?
I thought you were going to say Laurel was working with, because I thought that would be her close.
Well, I can't confirm that Laurel is working with Cara, but Jay is working with Cara.
Right. I thought if we're Jay, like, I guess everyone was giving him the weird look. Like, what is your girl doing down there? Why is she replacing Jasmine? And Jay's like, I don't know, dude. She does her own thing. I don't know. But so she replaces Jasmine. Replaces Veronica first. Replaces Jasmine first. It's gonna go against Veronica. And Veronica talks herself out of it by saying whatever. But should she have? I feel like this decision is final. I think you make your decision, you're done. This is who you're going up against. I was kind of very surprised even that TJ was like, yeah, sure, you can change your mind, whatever. I'm sure it wasn't him. But yeah, point still being.
I agree completely. Once your feet are out of the sand and you're back behind the barricade, I don't understand how you could be asked to come down. You've been granted repose. Jasmine has experienced relief. She doesn't know like that she is at risk anymore. She takes a deep breath and then suddenly she's summoned back again because Veronica says, you're insane. I wasn't working with Cara. It boggles the mind truly. And it would have been, I think, better television for them to say, no, you can't change, and then have them do the elimination anyway. Like that would have been hilarious. I also think, like, again, the move she made, I guess I would say this in your tiers of decision. You should pick the person you think you can beat. If you think you can beat both of them, which I think would be an extremely fair assumption in this challenge for Nicole. So she thinks she more or less could beat either one of them. Then who would you least want to run a final with? You know, like that, like then that calculation. Okay, if it's both of them equally. And then you want to get to like who's working with my enemies, who would be a bigger hit with my enemies. I understand that. Like I understand the jumps. Then she made the right decision in the first instance if she truly felt like it was equal that she could beat both of them. Because the biggest FU to Cara is keeping her biggest target, the person she worked really hard to put down here, in the house. To then flip and change that makes no sense. If you are only motivated to put a hit out on Cara, then save Jasmine as you did.
Yeah. None of it makes any sense. I would love to get a report from Nicole being like, what happened? Hopefully we get it maybe to start next week of someone asking her what the hell happened, and then we can get some type of confessional where she describes it. Because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, it worked out for her. It probably would have worked out for her anyway. I think Veronica probably would have put up a bigger fight just because of her size. I think that would have been much more challenging, but I think Veronica probably would have tired out at a certain point. But it seemed like an easy win for Nicole no matter what, and she somehow fumbled it into making it a giant mess.
She's gonna be like, last week on the challenge, like I thought I had it in the bag either way, so I like got a little confused, but luckily TJ saved the day. Like just like maybe she'll explain it.
That's a good question. Do you think she gets that was very good, very very good.
They'll probably do both of it.
Or does Steve get it?
I think they do it combined. The last elimination, I think they did it combined.
Oh my god, yeah. Hopefully we get that from Nicole. And so Steve, the other decision also, I think it was pretty more straightforward. Steve gives his star to Ace. They seem to be working fairly-ish close together. They always talk very highly of each other. So Steve gives his star to his buddy Ace.
It's interesting he makes a speech of like, Adam, I truly want to get you a star too, but Ace won the challenge today. Like, it's like, you don't need to tell everyone your whole game, but you know, that is sort of how the older school, like Adam, Ace, and Steve play, and Kifla before he left. We didn't even talk about elimination. I agree, like I forgot it was going to happen, honestly, when we were watching the episode. You know, Steve wins. Shocker. Very, very sad to see Kifla go. I pray this is not the last we see of Kifla on the challenge.
Yeah, I would love to see him back. He brought a whole lot to the season. I think coming back again now that he's started to like make some relationships and friendships, so he wouldn't be as much of an easy target from the get-go. And I think he probably could have put up a bigger fight. This one, I think, obviously the hamstring, I would assume, played a big impact on him, just like the shearing pain he probably was feeling throughout. And understandably so, not wanting to risk like a really serious thing when you have a whole family back home to take care of. So I get it from his perspective, and it just sucks. But hopefully we see him again.
We didn't get the BCR, but can we get the butter?
The butter.
Yeah, the BTR, the Brian Transition Report. Can you comment on TJ's use of the magic of television to change Nicole's clothing into her uniform?
That was very funny, especially TJ's face. I'm going to need that as a gift. Brian Scally, hope you're on that. Very funny. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was pretty awkward. I loved it. I love the All-Stars energy that they are giving. But yeah, so I guess that's it. I was like, do we have anything else?
Yeah.
Jasmine.
No,
last week we read her tweet about retiring. It's not the energy she gives on the show. Obviously, it was 2 years ago. But I hope, it's more of a Leroy retirement than a full-time retirement. I couldn't even think of someone who's fully retired.
What's funny, though, is Jasmine says, well, next time when I come back, I have to really try something totally different. I would say no. I would say do exactly what you did this time. I think you played great. I think you got a little unlucky that the vote fell your way this time. I think they play this season out from this point forward 10 times. You make the final at least 5 times. So keep what you did this time. Don't change anything. Do it again.
I agree. I'm glad you highlighted that. I loved her exit where she was just like, I finally played the game I used to see everybody else play, and it blew up in my face, and I'll do something different. No, it was awesome. It was awesome to see her come into this like really strategic, managing the social game really well, directing everything. Honestly, I think it goes to like even a bad luck draw to get Kara in a small middle group to get Brandon out. And then I also think there was a really good likelihood that Brandon could have won any elimination, like he got really unlucky on that last ball. Like I think a lot of things could have happened that would have saved Jasmine's game, and I would love to see Jasmine again.
Absolutely. Agree. Let's get to AI, baby.
DJ Sunny D.
Let's see. And the screen. This is it. Here we go.
Wow.
We got high voltage drama. I'm going to play it. Hopefully this works. Time to move along, carousels up, context ahead, erotic slithers. Another lead you get, carries the target, the one they want to bring down. They go shining bright, burning like a star crown. Ace in the cool, powers in their hands, musical chairs. It's their game in this vibrant land. Lights are flashing, the textures high. Rumors are spreading, no one can deny. Keep flying, Jasmine. It's time to say goodbye. Kara plays the cards. One up, big gun. Fly, harmonica twist, split through the flame. Kara's the aim, the one they want to slay. Ace in the cool. Now couple of the show. Musical tracks, the ones that control. Keep moving, Jasmine. Time to fade away. Kara on top. She's the star of the day. Nicole shining bright. Early fade. Ace in the cool. Making their own game. See this musical share. Only the fear survive. My energy. When the time comes alive.
Powerful. What did it say? Powerful chords, catchy hooks, powerful chords.
Yes.
It's interesting because the last few weeks I haven't like truly been able to make out the lyrics. So just been all vibes. And I thought, oh wow, I'll be able to read the lyrics and that'll really connect the dots. And like, no, it still makes very little sense. Even with the lyrics reading along. Also, shout out to the. Go ahead. Sorry.
I made the creative decision because they don't know how to say Kara's name, and
I was just gonna say
they weren't saying Keith's name correctly. Like, what if I add an extra E to his name? I feel like that would make them say it correctly, and they did. So I made the creative decision to make the sound right rather than the spelling of the lyric, and I think that was the right move.
I was gonna say shout out to the artist that is you inputting this to put that Keefla, which is also how I read it in my notes. I often spell things phonetically so that I
There
don't
you go.
mess up.
All righty.
Excellent.
Episode 6, halfway in. We'll be back next week. Episode 7. You can follow me on Twitter, _Brian_. TikTok, challenge wrap-ups. You can follow you.
You can only find me in the Facebook group, the Challenger Hap-Ups, but you can also find me this week talking with Akiva Winokur and Chappelle and Rob Cesternino about the Netflix movie Unfrosted on Nothing But Netflix. That was a lot of fun. Just dropped. Check it out. And hopefully New Girl Old Guy will be back at some point. But it's as you can see, I'm no longer in travel mode, but it's been a rough couple of weeks. So we will get back to that at some point soon.
And if you're listening to this on the day it drops, if you're in Chicago for the live Know It All podcast or whatever they call it, Survivor Live, I'll be there as well. So come say hello.
Brian only now in travel mode.
So you get the one chance. I'm in travel mode. We'll be back next week, episode 7. Until then, have a good one.